Hi, Steve Shappert, the Connecticut real estate broker. Welcome to Optimum Leadership Television. This is Greg Dwyer, my first guest. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Greg.
Well, I started as a magician back in the 70s and 80s, and then I went into the ministry, and right now I do motivational speaking. So a lot of my work is in the tri-state area, and my core value is to make a difference in people's lives.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit more about, making that transition from magician, minister, motivational speaker. I mean, I see commonalities in it, but how did it all unfold for you?
Well, I was at my grandmother's house in the 70s. My uncle was in show business. He picked up a quarter like this and made it disappear, and that was it. So I was like 9 or 10 years old, and so I spent the next couple years buying magic kits and doing magic shows for like birthday parties for kids, $30 for 30 minutes. And then by the time I was in high school, I was doing it semi-professional. My mom died in 1978, and then around that time, I started thinking things through from a spiritual point of view, had a major spiritual awakening, if you want to call that, and then went into college and then seminary. Really didn't care about magic at all. I mean, I like magic, go to a show here or there, but really wasn't interested in doing birthday parties for kids or any kind of magic.
Right.
But I came across a book called Sleights of Mind, and it was a book on neuroscience. And they interviewed magicians. They said, why do we think the way we do? And then they brought in people like Penn and Teller or Chris Angel or David Copperfield. And these guys weighed in on how our mind thinks. And as I read the book, I thought, I already know this. Like, I understand the magic of misdirection. I understand the philosophy of how we think. And it kind of brought it together. And then I had this aha moment. I thought, is it possible to use mentalism or magic to teach people how to think correctly? So in the last 4 years, I've been going around giving speeches, motivational speeches, but using mentalism to make a point or using it as a metaphor. So as though I've gone through these processes of a magician or minister or motivational speaker, the theme is still the same. You're helping people.
Correct.
Right.
So over the years, I've come up with 13 timeless leadership principles.
Okay.
And so the number one thing that I find is that you help yourself by helping others.
Right.
And that's really one of the big reasons that I thought of you first.
Nice, thanks.
So the whole concept of, the minister, I mean, as a magician, you're helping the kids. I mean,
Right.
In my mind, entertainment and education go hand in hand. You don't usually have one without the other,
Right.
because if they're falling asleep, they're not learning anything.
Right, exactly.
So tell us a little bit more about how you have gone about helping yourself by helping others.
Well, I mean, the whole metaphor of being on a plane, they tell you when you strap in and put on your safety belt,
Exactly.
the first thing you need to do is if there's cabin pressure loss, you want to put the oxygen on yourself, then help somebody like a child or somebody that can't do it. I don't think you can help someone that's poor if you're poor. I think the foundation of my philosophy is to be the best version of yourself. And, maybe it sounds selfish, but in reality it isn't. It's not narcissistic. If you work on yourself and you want to improve yourself, and in the same way you're looking to help other people, you're serving people by being the best version, by your character, by your philosophy, by your way of life. I mean, I know people that just give everything to everyone and then they don't have anything. So I think
Yes,
there's a balance. There's a balance.
I see that often.
Yeah.
It becomes a big problem.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you picked up, your story was actually one of my oldest stories, and it's about the oxygen.
Yeah.
Like, if you're dead,
Right.
you're not doing any good for anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's good you've got that drive, you're helping other people, but it all comes down to having a plan, right? You can't progress without having a plan of progress.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts on that? How do you?
Well, anyone that wants to do anything in life, I think the easiest thing to do is to find a mentor. So if you want to be a public speaker, maybe find someone that's been doing it for years. Or if you want to learn real estate, find a broker, find someone that knows the ropes. Like years ago, I met you and I knew you were an expert in your field. And not only did I want to pick your brain, but I also wanted to, figure out how you thought, in that field. Because at the time I was buying a house. So I think the first thing to do is to figure out what you want, right? And then surround yourself with people that have it and build relationships with those people so that you'll help them and you can help them and vice versa. And I think that's the key, and have a plan. I remember years ago we were talking about this. A lot of times it's not a straight line. You start off here, right? And it's up, it's down. But as long as you know this is where you want to be,
you're your eye on the ball.
Keep your eye on the ball.
Even if you got to go a little left, a little right.
Exactly. And not to get
keep
distracted.
looking in that direction.
Exactly.
Right.
I think the biggest temptation today is to be misdirected, to be unfocused, and to chase shiny red balls and get, before you know it, a decade goes by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's what I would say about planning.
Shiny red ball syndrome.
Yes.
It's a thing.
Yes.
Affects a lot of people. So I've also found, like, number 3, you struggle to become a leader.
Right.
Okay? It's not easy. It's not a God-given right. It's something that you work at. Give us an example of one of your struggles, one of your hardships that you've had to work through.
Well, I think, anybody that's going to face growth, they have to step out of their comfort zone. And in the process of stepping outside of your comfort zone, you're going to face frustration and fear and anxiety. I think most people want to be comfortable. So one of the things that has affected my business lately is, prospecting on the internet, using a CRM, updating a website. It's frustrating. If you don't do that kind of work every day, and you don't have the ability to bring in a team of 10 people that will take over the project, then you have to sit there and work through that process and work through the frustration. And it could be anything. It could be anything that you want to do. I think what stops people the most is they hit a wall of frustration or resistance, and then they go, well, I guess this isn't meant to be. Well, when I do that, I think to myself, how can I think differently to either go around it, above it, below it, or get outside help to make it happen? But I think, for me personally, I think it's just working on technical stuff like website design, outgoing, CRM messenger stuff. It's all technical stuff.
So it's essentially stepping outside of your comfort zone.
It is.
Because
it is.
You've been good at what you do,
Right.
but in order to be an entrepreneur and move the business forward, you had to learn a whole new set of skills.
And mindset.
Right.
Like, I'll sit with you and we'll have a glass of wine, we'll talk about things. Or I have another friend that was on my show, Kevin Lane, and I'll ask him how he thinks. And here's the beauty. When you have 2 people together, you have 3 minds. You have 1 person together, you have 1 mind. But when you and I get together, or my friends get together, and we're talking about business or success, and in fact, I'm joining a mastermind with Tim David next week. When we come together, it's not just me and it's not just you. It's a third dimension.
Correct.
And I think it's powerful. Napoleon Hill talked about it all the time. So
Read a lot of his stuff, huh?
I was amazed by him. I read his book, but I saw him recently, was obviously something on Netflix, but he talked about the fact that money is not the most important thing, that peace of mind and health are more important than having all the money in the world. I was shocked to hear him talk about that, really shocked. So
the bottom line is nothing comes easy.
No.
You just got to stick to it. You've got to overcome your hurdles.
Yes.
And probably the best way to do that is through repetition of habit.
Yes. I think that's very important. So every day I wake up, and for 15 minutes I do a guided meditation. I have a book. This is 365 quotes. Every single day I pick up my book, I look at the quote, I meditate on it, and I don't get out of my bed until I do a guided meditation, look at my quote book, and create that habit. I think it's like conditioning and priming. It's very important, very important.
Right.
So can I show you something with this?
I was kind of hoping you would.
Okay. So I'm looking at today. I'm not sure when the show is going to air, but this is May 2nd. There's quotes in here by, Henry Ford, Mark Twain. There's one here by Einstein. So every day is a different quote. And I think there's one quote in here, the beginning of your show, that is going to speak to you directly. So I'm just going to put this in here. And we didn't rehearse this. Just name any day. Now, not today, but just any single day. Maybe it's a birthday, a holiday, a special day of remembrance for you. And then we'll put this bookmark in here and take a look at the quote for that day. So what day?
March 9th.
All right, so March 9th. And we did not research this or work on this or even talk about this. All right, so I'm going to put this here. There's your book. Take a look at March 9th. Open it up. And I really, truly believe that that quote is for you
Straight
for this
to the
show.
card?
Yeah, there's March 9th, right?
Pick a date. Have no fear of perfection. You'll never reach it. Salvador Dali.
Do you know anything about this guy?
I've read the quote many times.
Okay.
And I apply it all the time.
Isn't that wonderful?
The whole, the repetition of habit and back to the planning and the progress has a lot to do with it, because a lot of people will never get started until the plan is perfect.
Right.
Sorry, you're never going to get off the couch.
It's like
You're
a navigation.
never going to get out
Yeah.
out from behind the desk.
Right.
Because if you think it's all about perfection,
Right.
number one, you're going to go nuts.
Right.
I mean, the movie, Beautiful Mind.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
We got 3 seconds.
No, we got 3 minutes. We're
3
fine.
minutes.
We're
Okay.
fine.
So
have no fear.
Have no fear.
So that's the quote for you. And I really, and you picked your own date. I mean, there's no way. We did not work this out. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. I had no idea what you're going to say. Now look at the other quotes on that page. They're different, right? You don't have
March
to read
time.
them. You don't have to read them, but they're
Okay.
different. Now look at the front of the book. Look at the introduction. Open up the book. There's an intro. I'll show it to you. And what does the introduction say for you on the left-hand side?
This is the only quote that you need. Have no fear of perfection. You'll never reach it.
That book is yours. It's a gift.
What in the world?
Isn't that amazing? So that's
astounding.
That's a personal quote for you. You know, you keep that book. That's yours.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. As you do this show, it's true. I think it's like a GPS in a car. People want to get in a car and they want to know how to get to California or Phoenix or wherever they're going. The GPS only says left or right, and then after you take the left and right, it's going to tell you the next step. But you have to step out in faith. You really do.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that back to the point of entertainment and education. I taught a master's class at Yale.
Okay.
And the concept was entertainment and education. I had done a presentation for first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And it was all about the Demi Lovato intro. It
Yes.
was all about the glow-in-the-dark stickers. It was all about the cool cartoon videos. I kept their interest, and I was asked to do it because my boss was asked to do the presentation. He sent the PowerPoint presentation that had 10 pages of 10-point font, and the superintendent said, "Oh my God, what are you kidding me?"
Right.
So I went, we did it, they loved it.
Wow.
And it's all about entertainment.
Yeah,
So
it
I
has
think
to be.
We're going to cut to a commercial, and we'll go from there. Hey, Steve Shepard, Optimum Leadership Television, back again with our guest, Greg Dwyer. Greg, we got 13 points to get through.
Okay.
We're going to kind of run through a couple of them because they're a little bit similar here. Positive, negative, it's a matter of choice. How do you feel about that?
You know what? It's like if you focus on red every day, you'll see red. You focus on black every day, you see black. It's a habit. It's what you look for is what you find. That's
Right.
it.
So you can only control your attitude. You can't really control what goes on around you. You can only change how you react to it.
Exactly.
Okay, so like my real estate clients, we spend a lot of time looking at houses. People will look at things and they get hung up on, why would somebody do that? Why, and the next thing, why would they do that?
Why would you ask that question is what you're thinking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my point is, it doesn't really matter.
No.
All that really matters is, how do you feel about that?
Exactly.
You know, do you want to lie down on the couch? Tell me about it.
Well, you're probably like a
And-
psychiatrist that way.
And
Yeah.
what are you going to do about it? Are we
Exactly.
just going to walk out the door and
Right.
go to the next house?
Yeah.
Or are we going to take action and go, hey, let's lock this one up? So just worry about yourself.
I don't think people control their focus in their mind. I think that's what you're talking about.
Correct.
Right?
Right. So, I mean, you can't change others.
No.
You can only change how they affect you.
Exactly.
And that brings us back to the original positive or negative.
Right.
It's all about what your choice is.
Right.
Because you wake up every single day and you can run down the list of your life, and it doesn't matter who you are. You could easily come up with a list of really negative things.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you're the rock star.
Right.
You know, Prince, God rest his soul,
Right.
like had a lot going for him, and now not so much because he was focused on the positive or on the negative, actually.
Well, experts say we have 45 to 65,000 thoughts every day, and 90% of them are the same the next day. So there's habits of thinking which most people are not aware of, and you know, it's about breaking a person's pattern and getting them to think differently. It's sleight of mind. It really is. It's like this hand or this hand. Do you want to follow this or that? And it's the same thing with your life and your patterns and your beliefs. It's deep stuff that most people don't think about. But you do, and I do, and that's why we're here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can get lost in the dark, but you can actually shed new light on a problem by getting lost in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
So the point is, get outside your comfort zone.
Right.
Make mistakes.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes because, oh my God, how many have I made?
Right.
But you know what? That bit of education came the hard way.
Right. Priceless.
And it's in here. It's not going anywhere.
And you can teach it to other people and make millions. I mean, people that have your experience, forget about it. I mean, you could be signing up people on an online course or bringing them into a studio and teaching them. How many years you've been doing real estate?
17.
So you got almost 20 years of real estate background, and someone that's just starting would pay probably thousands of dollars.
17 or 45. It's 45 total as a contractor and a broker, but
that's
17.
priceless. That's priceless information.
It's kind of all the same information.
Yeah.
Tell us quickly about your second biggest mistake. We won't ask for the biggest one.
Oh, okay. I think you're not a mind reader, but I think you're reading my mind. Probably not believing enough in myself. I know that makes me vulnerable, but I have a coach that coaches me. His name is James Mapes, and he called me up the other day, and he goes, Greg, if there's one piece of advice I could give you, it's just to really believe in what you have to offer to people. And I think it's the hardest thing. I mean, I can sell this because it's not personal. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you're putting your heart and you're putting your life on the line because your product is you. And I tend to be a mismatcher. When I go out into an audience, I look for rapport, but I see the one person that kind of is not buying into it, and I focus on that one person. I did it last night at a workshop.
Do the same thing.
Do you do the same thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can't win everybody.
They're the target.
Yeah. But I did it last night. This lady was like looking around, and I'm like, how come I can't win her over? Everybody else is happy. But I think that's the biggest. I wish I had learned that lesson 10 years ago. But hey, what are you going to do?
I found through life that my toughest customers, my biggest opposition, those are the ones that I have the strongest bonds with.
Right.
Because one of my oldest stories is the old guy that I worked for in Arizona, and his wife was beaten down by his overbearing personality, and she warned me before I even got there, he's going to be really difficult. And I literally and emotionally kicked him in the head. And he said, whoa, but it took a little bit of interaction. He was used to everybody backing down and getting his way. And I simply stood up to him, and it changed the whole rapport because now he respected me.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't back down.
Absolutely.
It was a very strong relationship.
Yeah, makes sense.
So don't spend time, invest it. How do you feel about that concept?
You know, I just listened to Earl Nightingale the other day, and he says most people, they want to sit in front of a stove on a cold winter night and expect the heat to come out. And he says, when you're sitting in front of a stove, you got to go out there, chop down some wood, put the wood in there. That's investment. You invest the time, you take a risk. You're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. you have to spend time investing and taking a financial risk. Most people, they want to play it safe. They want to sit in front of the stove and they want the heat to come out of the stove before they go down and cut the tree down. And I have found most people who want to start a business or be a leader have the wrong philosophy. They want to know what's in it for me, how much am I going to get paid, and they have an employee mentality, which is okay. If you have that mentality, you should find somebody that has taken a risk, chop down the tree, and maybe they'll take care of you. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to be a trailblazer, you're going to have to invest time, energy, and sweat without seeing a return on the investment, and hope and pray that your thing is going to eventually bring you some kind of currency or reward. But that's the difference between investment versus, something that you're going to get as a guarantee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, I mean, all you got is just moments in time.
That's all we have
That's
is now.
all we have.
That's right.
We don't know, is it going to be a long time, a short time? Don't know.
Right.
So what are you going to do today?
Now. Exactly.
Now.
Yep.
To make it better. So I saw a quote today, something along the lines of, you live, or you dream like you're going to live forever.
Yep.
And you live like you're going to die tomorrow.
Yes, I believe that 100%. That's my philosophy. That every day, if you wake up thinking this is your last day, well, one day you'll be right. But it's a sense of urgency, and I think the biggest thing that people struggle with is they have this concept that we're going to be here forever, and they overestimate what they can do in a year. It goes back to habits. It goes back to mindset, and it goes back to what are you focusing on. One of the things that I do to break the pattern is I meditate every day. And I record my thoughts in a journal every day. And this way, at the end of the year, I have a entry of 2,555 things that I have looked at, thought about, grateful for, and it gives me an idea what I've been thinking throughout the year. It's not for everybody, but it changes the way you focus your brain. It really does.
So, a lot of people get stuck in the lack of belief in themselves.
Right.
They look around, they go, oh, this one's smarter, this one's this one's more. Dedication and determination, though, typically wins the day every time.
Well, everybody is superior to someone else in some regard, and everyone is inferior to someone else. Like for me, you're great at numbers, you're great at real estate. You are superior in that regard to me. There are things that I do that you can't do. Every single person out there that you meet is going to be better at something. Now, the tendency is to think that we're inferior, but when you look at it, and that's a reframe, when you look at it that way, you have certain gifts that you should use to help other people. I'm not going to be good as real estate as you are. You're not going to be as good as maybe magic as me. It's just where's a person's focus? And so I think if you have that mindset, it allows you to be free. You know what I mean? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's about feeding the brain.
Yes.
If you're not feeding the brain, again, investing in yourself, then you're not progressing. It's all these key words that keep coming back.
Yes.
So that dedication and determination, you need it. Because nothing will kick you in the teeth as hard as life. It's not no one person, no one thing. Life kicks you harder than everything.
But I also think who you surround yourself with is everything. If you surround yourself with people who, no offense, who are broke, who are negative, I don't care what you do, I don't care what seminar you go to, I don't care what book you read. If you don't surround yourself with people that are going to take you to a higher standard, you're going to lose this game. You're going to become one of them because you're going to want their love and acceptance. And so you're going to lower your game to their standards.
It's almost the oxygen mask.
It is.
It
is.
You want to hang out with the same people, but
Right.
you feel they're dragging you down.
Absolutely.
They probably are. I mean, they say that your income is usually the average of your 5 best friends.
Right.
And it's because you keep pulling each other up. It's
Right.
like me and Louie and Mike going to work out in college.
Yep.
Like we're there 3 times a week.
Sure.
You can't not show up
Exactly.
because it'll be embarrassing.
Right.
So it
Exactly.
pushes you. So the point is, you're the reason for your success.
Right.
You have to take control of it. You're the reason that people do business with you.
Right.
Okay? My Uncle Jim, when I was 14, I said, Pearl of Wisdom, what do you got? And he said, Steve, remember, people do business with you because they like you.
Mm-hmm. trust you.
insight to
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the networking
Yeah.
things I do.
Sure.
And then it's leading from within.
Right.
And you kind of touched on it, but the thought is that you're leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're digging down deep and thinking, you know, what can I do to elevate my game?
Right.
Because if I'm not elevating my game, who wants to follow me down the rabbit hole?
Exactly.
Nobody.
And I think service has to be the issue. I mean, you can make a lot of money. We know people that have made a lot of money and they're miserable. So money is not the secret to life. I really think it's contribution. I really think it's service. You know, being of service to other people. I think that brings the most joy out of life in general.
It does.
Yeah.
It actually produces an endorphin.
It does.
Inside you. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's a
And I
physical
think the
state.
biggest challenge in our society is our focus. The cell phones, the television, the media. And my message is simple. If you don't control your mind, if you don't control your focus, someone else is going to do it for you.
Right. I agree. And Greg, that's it for our day. I want to thank you for
Thank you.
coming to Optimum Leadership Television, being our first guest. It's a great day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And remember, no fear.
No fear.